Taylor, explain to us what's going on over here.
We're making a giant foam nose cone, and none of us have made our own nose cone before. So this could go really, really bad. I tried to do my homework and I made this crazy jig before Braden and Postart got here. And basically I just got two carrier bearings, cut a bunch of foam, put it on a 1/2 inch all thread. The idea is we're gonna hot wire cut and spin it 1,000,000 times to get the rough shape, and then hopefully we can put the all thread in a drill and spin it and sand it smooth, following the contour of our pattern here, which was achieved by printing a full-size nose cone off a rock sim and taping 10 sheets of paper together, and then cutting it on MDF to make a pattern. So about $6 worth of 2x and some free MDF and $20 of foam.
And now we get to glue it all together. Work smarter, not harder. That's so satisfying looking.
It sure is. Staying hot wire cutters.
This Taylor looks like you know what you're doing over here.
It might work.
There you go. Is it insanely light? With the all thread, it's not. It's like a 3D movie.
So I want
Right in my face. Dude, it really is one of those
the coupler will go on here.
For full disclosure, the whole nose cone creation process went a little bit better than any of us anticipated that it would, but after we finished smoothing it out, it was back to Taylor's house for a fiberglassing extravaganza. Of course, while this foam nose cone probably could take some abuse, an end motor and 8Js is a little bit of a different story than your average high-power rocketry flight. We don't want to see it fold in half, so we used two different size solar composite 10-ounce fiberglass sleeves, pieced them together so that we could fiberglass the entire nose cone. Then it was onto the airframes. These are standard 9 1/4 inch cardboard airframe tubes that we got from Ken Allen at performancehobbies.com. And I want to give a quick shout out to our friend Joe Hill for connecting these tubes to Taylor in Virginia so that we didn't have to pay to have these massive things shipped halfway across the country. Just like with the nose cone, these tubes could probably handle some abuse, but maybe not the abuse involved with 8Js and an end motor, so we fiberglassed these as well. We used solar composite sleeves and the solar composite heat shrink tubing, and while we've seen plenty of people have successful use of the heat shrink tubing, we're not sure if we used too much heat or what went on, but it was impossible to get off in some spots, and we'll probably forgo it on the next time around.
So we were operating under the assumption that it was only going to shrink, what does it say, 1 to 2 inches?
It might have been an inch a foot.
Oh, that would make a lot more sense. Because we came up quite short on the shrink tape on both tubes. This one on both sides and that one just on one, but fortunately we got Matt. Matt can come sand it. Right there. The man, the myth, the legend. Co-driver Myers.
Now, as you may have seen in the live stream where we fiberglassed the fins, instead of using Mylar or heat shrink or anything like that on the fins, all we did was use a layer of 10-ounce glass and then a layer of 4-ounce glass. The super fine veil layer of 4-ounce glass actually made for an incredibly smooth surface, and this is probably going to be the technique I use moving forward on any fiberglass project. After everything dried, we trimmed off all the excess fiberglass and went to bed. The following day, Macho Matt himself showed up and we started construction of the actual fin can assembly. This entailed a whole lot of trimming and sanding and fitting and sanding and preparing and sanding and sanding and sanding. So if you have missed the sanding channel, I have such great news for you because this is only the beginning. Despite a giant storm trying to rip Taylor's garage door off, we managed to get everything glued together and assembled.
Macho Match is here. And he's been given his first task. What are we working on today, Macho Matt?
We're gonna cut some tubes in half using this dial caliper, digital dial caliper. So we gotta first figure out the very middle of it. That looks about right.
Would it help to know that I know how long they are?
You can't cheat. I can't cheat.
Yeah, you're right. You got to measure.
Yeah.
Whoa, just fine Dremel here. What?
I said a fine Dremel, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm going for. All right.
Just like with the 12-inch Punisher, once the very basic motor tube assembly was glued together, we slid it into the airframe to use the fin slots as guides for gluing the fins on. Once the fins were glued in place, we slid everything back out the back end of the rocket so that we could proceed to do fillets all over the inside of it before it once again got slid in and glued in permanently. But first, we gotta check some clearances. Why is that, Taylor?
Never know when you get sloppy with the old epoxy. Oh, actually, that.
Is it pretty close?
Yeah.
I gotta blow the ends out.
Yeah. Yeah.
They fit perfect.
Oh, what?
It's so much better than the plotter tubes.
Oh man.
What if these don't actually fit motor cases?
Dude, don't say that.
Go. Effort.
I'd like it to be on record that I petitioned to use phenolic for the 54s as well, and even bought some. Let's all just keep that in mind through this segment.
Before?
The other side is not sandy too.
That's like the iris. Yeah. We basically made the iris.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Remember how fast that took off on the N2220? Wow, that's questionable at best.
Huh.
This is a 2 times upscale Arcus. It's 9 3/4 in diameter. 1 of the quarters. 9 1/4 inches in diameter. It's got a cluster of 9 motors, a 98 millimeter, 4 54s, and 4 38 millimeter. Yeah. Well, we're finding that it weighs less than ideal, but 40 pounds, right?
About 50 pounds.
Oh, all right.
Not bad.
50 pounds, I think. Yeah, thanks, guys.
We were expecting about 85 pounds, so.
Wow.
Yeah. We're still working on where the extra 35 pounds is going to come from.
Yeah.
Paint.
Also,
Yeah.
we wanted to stand it up, but now there's a thunderstorm coming. So
Yeah.
it's so light it might actually blow away.
What are we going to do for a parachute?
2 parachutes.
Streamers?
2 Cert 3XLs,
Nice.
which will be more than enough, apparently.
Where are we gonna stand it up at?
It's probably in the grass.
Does it stand up a lot easier than the,
Yeah, that makes it seem pretty big.
That is good.
Oh my god. That's a big Arcus.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty sick. Yeah, dude. And it weighs nothing.
Oh.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because
The cup was falling.
Shit.
It's good.
Oh no.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cupper's way down there. Yikes.
Well, it's good that
Alright.
Fortunately, that didn't cause any destruction, so we took the rocket back in, set up some external fillets, and did those as usual, and then, as promised, we're taking you guys out on a virtually endless supply of the sanding channel.
We had an idea.
We just built this rocket behind me. This is a 2x upscale of a real full-scale Arcus sounding rocket. Taylor has been putting in crazy work getting this thing painted and ready to fly. So you go check out his channel in the description. Do you make a video of painting it? It's not out yet. Well, but you shot one. Okay. Go check out his channel in the description and you can watch the whole process of painting and sanding and finishing this 16-foot tall rocket. But now it's time to finish it. It's time to go fly it. And I have made a grave mistake in this whole finishing process, which we'll get to later. It's not a big deal, it's fine. But yeah, welcome to all the new subscribers and hello friends again to the people who've been watching. Let's fly the Arcus. 9 rocket motors, 15 feet tall, is gonna be quite an adventure. The first step in our, so to speak, final preparation for flight is positive retention for all the motor cases. Though the propellant itself in the motor cases is single use, the actual aluminum hardware itself is reusable and quite expensive. So obviously we want to keep it with the rocket so that it can safely be recovered. I don't like to think about how much it all costs, but if you're curious, there's a single 98-15-360, 4 54-852s, and 4 38-720 cases with closures in there. Feel free to look up those prices, just don't tell us the total. To retain these motors, just like our 12-inch diameter rocket with much bigger motors, we're using steel hardware with doubled up washers and threaded inserts into the rear centering ring. Believe it or not, it only takes 4 total screws to hold all these in. Next on the to-do list is argue about whether or not there's enough shock cord in the rocket.
Tell us how much shock cord you just cut from the main side and why.
20 feet, which seems short, but we're gonna do 2 7-foot leaders for our Y harness to our dual main parachutes for the double Arcus. But the main parachutes are going in a deployment bag, so it doesn't really need to be that long because it's not absorbing any energy. It's just gonna pull it all out nicely. and then we'll do like a 10-foot harness on the nose cone with the pilot chute, and then on the drogue section we'll do 50 feet. Which Braden says is also too short.
It seems so short.
We have 120 feet. We should have just used it all.
We are using it all.
Only on the drogue side.
100.
The theory with the deployment bags, for those who don't know, the deployment bag is attached to the nose cone and it comes off completely. The nose cone is not attached to the shock cords at all. So instead of absorbing the shock from the deployment, in theory, the nose cone coming off should just gently pull the bags off of the parachutes and the parachutes should inflate.
Everyone's happy.
I understand the idea.
He just doesn't like it.
But it just seems so short for a 9-inch rocket.
But we already have all the shock cord purchased, and I told Matt to buy 120 feet, and that's what we have, so that's what we're gonna use.
So I want it on record that I was iffy about it.
When have we ever had a discussion about shock cord that failed before?
Yeah, never.
If all that deployment jargon sounds complicated, it's because it sort of is. To either clear things up or make it far worse, here's the explanation of how the deployment sequence works for this particular.
Okay, let me give you guys a quick little rundown of the recovery sequence while we're putting it together. So this Kevlar tether that's attached to the nose cone attaches to the top of the deployment bags for our 2 main chutes, and then this is the parachute that just the nose cone will have. This comes down by itself. That function serves to pull the nose cone off of the 2 deployment bags, which stay with the nose cone, and the parachutes are attached to our upper section there. So this is effectively pulling the bags off the chutes for nice, smooth, slow deployment like you guys saw on our 12-inch Punisher flight. That'll happen at 1,500 feet, but at the top, what we have over here is this separation point. This is our drogue side. So those new to rocketry, drogue chute comes out at the top, slows the rocket down just enough to keep it from, coming in ballistic, but keeps it so that it doesn't drift so far away that we have to go for a nice long walk to pick this huge rocket up. So at apogee, the highest point of the flight, this port separates and it comes down under its own chute until the electronics in here realizes 1,500 feet and it'll fire the secondary charge that's going to release our main parachutes. And there you go. That's an extremely complicated setup because we thought it would be fun.
Clear? Good. Let's do some ground testing. We use small black powder charges controlled by onboard computers to deploy the parachute systems at our desired altitude. In addition, we use nylon screws designed to shear with these ejection charges to hold pieces of the rocket together until it's time for them to separate. That's why you see Taylor drilling holes into the rocket right here. To ensure we've got enough oomph, we test the charges on the ground like so.
3, 2, 1.
12 grams?
12 grams. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we maybe overdid it a tad. We'll pull those charges back a little bit for the actual flight, but we know it'll separate, so we're golden.
Well, that gives you guys an idea of how that works though, huh? The chutes are nice and sprawled out. It's a little bit spicier than it needs to be. And as much as I hate to give Taylor the win, you can see that it clearly didn't stress the shock cord out. You want to talk about the rail buttons?
They're perfect.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good.
Testing out of the way, it's time to finish dressing this bad boy up. This is where it's time for me to address the grave mistake I referenced earlier in the video. Our friend Mark Hayes from StickerShock23.com was kind enough to send us a set of decals for this rocket a few months ago. I, however, managed to leave them at home when we came to finish the rocket. In case you don't know, I live in California, 25 hours of driving away from where the rocket is. So I sent an SOS email to Mark who, despite it being the literal crack of dawn, answered me almost immediately and had a new set finished and in the mail that very same day so that we could finish the rocket and have it properly beautified before flight. So please buy decals from Mark at StickerShock23.com. His service is literally unbeatable and his decal quality is almost unbelievable. With the decals on and the rocket ready to roll, all we had to do was load it up and make our 4-hour trek from Kansas City to the legendary rocket pasture in Argonia, Kansas. Without further ado, here it is, the flight of the Double Arcus.
Anti-gravity group: Taylor Jesse, Shane Harris, Matthew Myers, and Braden Carlson. Bunch of crazy young men that do some amazing things. They're from California and Missouri and probably a whole bunch of other places too. They built a double Arcus, a 2X upscale Arcus rocket. In doing this, you end up with a 100-pound rocket. You gotta fly a 100-pound rocket, you gotta have a motor.
That's our all, isn't it? So I think
the double Arcus is gonna fly with an N2000, 4 J275s, and 4 J350, so a total of 9 motors. It's coming out of Buster, our big tower that's out there at the 80s pad on the horizon. The main will come out at 1,500 feet. You guys ready?
1,500 feet before it.
Yeah.
Here we go. The anti-gravity group. Doing it again. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Remember, that was 100 pounds.
It's still going. Yeah. Oh, it deployed one of the stages right there. Yeah, there it is. I'm surprised it has I don't know if they all win.
That first one was like 13,000. But it's still pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's not like...
Taylor.
What?
Something came off of it.
What? Huh?
Something came off of it.
Oh my god.
See it? Two parachutes on the bottom and one on the top?
You got an eye on it, Braden.
Yeah.
These parachutes are probably
Nice! Good talent!
nice.
I don't know if this camera's running or not, but that best recovery ever.
Dude, it hit the pad it took off from.
Yeah.
That is never gonna happen again.
No.
That was as perfect as that aspect of it could have been. I saw some stuff in the camera while I was watching it through the camera. I'm not thrilled about it. So
Yeah, I saw a small glare.
yeah,
It was falling.
I saw what looked like little pieces, which from thousands of feet could be motor cases just spraying all over.
Yeah.
But it was coming down fast enough that I think the 98's in there still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we might have dumped a couple 852s. How is that possible? How is that possible?
I took a lot of pictures before we... You laid the short over the hydraulic line.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're gonna have recovery video on the pad camera.
That's insane. Are all the motor cases in it?
I didn't look.
Okay.
They're all in there?
Today, I am building a new nose cone for our 9-inch diameter, 15-foot tall double Arcus. So you can see me here cutting out bulk plates. We used a full 4x8 sheet of 1-inch pink foam from Home Depot. I cut it into 1 foot by 1 foot rough squares, and you can see me here cutting a 3-inch hole in the middle, because the biggest revision is that I'm building this nose cone around a 3-inch phenolic tube from PML that I then glassed with Solar Composites fiberglass sleeve, creating a rock solid core to build the whole nose cone around.
Yeah, this is a Macho Matt, and we're here to make a rocket cone. Make a tip on the rocket. The one and only E-Golf, and it's, yeah, the Super didn't want to start, so.
What do you mean?
Well, it's the battery.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, except for
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit. So, we're having to extend the jig a bit because we got to put the coupler on the jig.
I said you could be a camera guy,
Yeah.
not the narrator.
Well,
Wow.
you got a mixture of both. What's camera guy without?
So we're using the same, this is the same jig we used last year, but the new design that's gonna cause it not to break in half on the way up. So we got a fiberglass 3-inch phenolic PML tube here, and that's gonna be the core of it. We're still using our trusty 1/2-inch all thread because we you know, we want some redemption, I guess. Also, this jig is based all around 1/2-inch all thread in these pillow blocks. And so luckily I saved this jig because I don't think we were planning on having to make another nose cone, but I left it set up and it's perfect. So also we had an extra piece of coupler that is the perfect length for the rocket. So this is what was left from the old nose cone and this will be the new nose cone. These are all our pieces of foam, so we're going to stack the foam up on this tube, and then there will be a little bit of foam past that. But the whole problem was that this tube is going to be supported by the coupler. So we have these centering rings that go in here, and then the tube will glue into there, and so it'll all be one piece. Whereas before it was basically just a foam cone that sat on top of the coupler, which is why it broke apart. But I did not design this jig with that length in mind, so I'm having to do some last minute camera guy. Come show him. Come show him.
Some finagling.
Some last minute add-on
remodeling.
Remodel to
Yeah,
the jig here. I think it's gonna work. So we got it all mocked up here, and we are minutes away from putting it all together.
Wow.
We got Macho Matt here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna try to make the second half of the anti-gravity group proud here. So we'll see.
Look at them horns over there. Wow. Oh my God.
The rod's gonna hold it all together. The rod's gonna hold it all together. The rod's gonna hold it all together.
And the rad cheered. Okay, watch your fingers. Can you imagine this goes right in your fingertip? Can you imagine that? You just fucking up your leg.
All right, you can see Matt and I starting to stack up the foam pieces around the tube to form the nose cone. We're using 3M spray glue to glue each piece of foam together. After we got the full stack, I threw it on the jig and started hot wire cutting. It takes many passes to get it to the rough shape of the nose cone. The jig is made from 2x4s and 1/4-inch MDF, and I printed out the profile on about 10 sheets of paper from RockSim
taped them together, and then cut out the 1/4-inch MDF to form the jig with the profile on it. After the hot wire cutting is done, we threw the 1/2-inch all thread into a drill chuck and turned it as a makeshift lathe. Once we got the profile, we went home and laid up glass on it using Solar Composites sleeve. Unfortunately, I don't have any video of that because Matt was running out of time before he had to go home, and I needed his help. So we did get it glassed, and there's quite a bit of thick weave, which you can see here. And I'm using West Systems epoxy with West 410 filler. That is the super lightweight fairing filler, and currently my favorite filler to fill fiberglass and minor imperfections on rockets. This stuff levels out super nice. You just need to try to get it on there very evenly, and it sands so nice. So I did probably 3 coats of this, and then when I went to prime it, I actually did not need to go back and do any spot putty or anything like that. It was just ready to go. So you can see me hitting it with the orbital sander right here, and it sands so nice. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Alright, so here's where we're at with the nose cone. No tip on it, which actually, now that I think about it, I got this little stub of all thread that would actually, if I had my S together, that'd be a really nice place to screw on a 3D printed tip. But I've already got put together the way I usually have done it in the past. Whether I'm fixing like a gel coat nose cone, or when I built the Arcus nose cone last time, I take the epoxy clay and I basically just mold it out of that. I usually have more all thread sticking up than this, but it is what it is. If it comes off, it's easy enough to replace. So I'm just gonna knead that together. The nose cone turned out super nice. This one definitely feels better than the one we built last year that got destroyed. Which it should, I guess that's the whole point, but it's not squishy at all, even though we did the same amount of glass. So I don't know if we sanded into the weave too much last year, or what the deal, or if we were a little dry on our layup, but this one feels really nice. We'll see what it looks like once I get paint on it, but first order of business is making a tip. Alright, this stuff's finally mixed up, so just gonna try to make sure there's no voids. Comes down to just getting the shape the way you want it. Ideally it would be a little bit bigger than it needs to be, and then you sand it down. I mean, obviously we're not going to leave it like that. This is just giving something to work with, basically.
Here you can see me starting the long, slow process of sanding the tip with the orbital sander. I'd like to take my time doing this because you can easily over sand it. So it's better to just shape it slowly as you go and not take off too much material at once.
Okay, and by some sort of miracle, I actually got that. And the lighting in here is terrible, but we have a something that resembles a nose cone here. The very tip, so this is all epoxy clay. It feels a little fragile at the very tip. Normally I have a piece of the all thread go all the way up, and I would actually put like a metal
or grind the end of it, but I accidentally epoxied the nut on there and I ended up just cutting it off. And so there's more of this. The very tip of this is unsupported, which I don't love. So I'm probably gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. Maybe put like some really light fiberglass there. I'll have to think about it some more, but overall I'm happy with it. I'm gonna do a little bit more filling and stuff, and then hopefully the wind will be a little less tomorrow or the next day and I can shoot primer on it.
And that I did. I was surprised after this coat of primer. I really did not need to add any more filler. And of course, once the nose cone was primed, I followed that up with the color coat. This should have been the same color as the red on the rest of the Arcus. I'm not really sure what happened, but it turned more of a candy apple red, similar to the red that's on the Sumo. So I'm not sure if it was because it was so hot, if it was a mislabeled can, or I just didn't put as many coats, but it's definitely not the same color as what's on the rest of it. Now that the nose cone is finally painted, I could finally attach the coupler, and this was definitely the most satisfying part. You can see at the very base of the cone, I have a wooden centering ring that is the same outside diameter as the airframe of the rocket. This creates a really flat, solid point for the tube to butt into the nose cone. On the previous nose cone, that was just foam, and so it was really like the tube just going into mush, and it wasn't a very solid line for the tube to butt into, if that makes sense. So this is definitely the most satisfying part. So you can see me applying an ugly fillet and some epoxy on that centering ring. You can see me putting another ring on top of that. The purpose of this ring is to hold the coupler. So you'll see in a second, the coupler actually glues onto this centering ring. You can see me putting a fillet onto that centering ring here. And once that is done, I put a line of epoxy on the inside of the coupler. And this is the top side of the coupler that will slide over that centering ring I just put onto the nose cone stack. You can see I have the rear centering ring already epoxied into the aft side of the coupler. That is there and will epoxy onto the 3-inch tube. So you can see me putting epoxy onto the 3-inch tube. And once I slide the whole stack over it, that'll give a nice bond onto the tube there. And this allows it all to be aligned and done in one shot. I was on a time crunch. This is a few days before, or maybe the day before I left for Airfest. So this was the last shot. And that, what you just saw, is the most satisfying part of this whole thing. It worked so well, and all the parts fit so nice. I was super happy about that, and it took a lot of restraint to wait until the very end to put that whole stack together. This cone is definitely way solid, and I have no doubt that it will make it through many flights. Our flight at Airfest was successful.
3, 2, 1. Well, what do you know? Look at that. Arc it over. Arcing. Now we have an event. Okay. Art, you're ready also? And you are what pad? Alright, we're gonna go out to the way. This is Boston. And I think we're ready to go. Gonna go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
That'll clear us.
Yeah.
We have the bat.
That's sick,
Congratulations, bro. It's so satisfying to watch the mains.
Nice job, Art.
isn't it? Comes right back. That's our favorite part about that rocket.
Taylor.
What do you say, Taylor?
It worked.
There's fins attached. There's a nose cone attached to the parachute this time.
One motor was kind of sick,
Yeah,
to
it's
be
really
honest.
easy.
Super easy, just like flying any other big dumb rocket. And actually, putting on the pad was super easy. Camera still beep or
Oh, it's still
recording.
running. How the fins? Look, it only drug it like 3 feet.
Fins are dead.
There you go. GoPro just shut off.
Oh yeah!
Just rips it.
I just see you guys later.
All right, get the pour.
Here we go. The money shot.
That wasn't too bad.
Not too bad. Matt. Macho Matt. Yeah, I gotta be real macho about it.
Macho Matt. Macho Matt. Yeah, ask a question, he'll answer that. He's the rootinest, tootinest conductor worlds of fun has ever seen. And he knows that 13's about 13. Macho Matt.